President of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly. Welcome to Özdemir Bayraktar National Technology Center. What Kızıl Elma does could be likened to what a machine that beat Kasparov 20 years back does. Kasparov was the Grand Chess Master. Maybe he trained for 40 years to become so. But a machine the size of a refrigerator beat Kasparov. And after that day, my cell phone beats Kasparov. So the match doesn't make any sense. So here, you don't have any man inside the aircraft. It can do anything that a manned fighter can do and do more because it doesn't have the man, and it's much cheaper. So it's like a match against Kasparov against the machine. We don't need training time. You need to train a pilot maybe 10 years to become a fighter pilot. And he has a lot to lose. He has a family. The human element is the most expensive item, actually.
Could you please elaborate a little more on the fighter jet, the autonomous fighter jet? How does it compare today with the manned fighter jets? Because it's not yet considered as an option for the majority of the air forces. How long do you think it will take to be an option?
If you look at the preparations, like armies in the world, institutions in the world, prepare for what happened the last time. But you need to prepare for what's going to happen the next time. Nobody could foresee the success of Bayraktar TB2. Nobody. And then nobody could foresee the success of FPVs. No one. No military analyst, no military ranking officer. It's only those who drive the change that have control over it. So now, the whole final Top Gun movie was about what? Again, the power of the ankle is gonna, beat the machine. No, it's not, because the machine doesn't. It's like a monster. So here, they're the game changer of the future, and we shouldn't compare them to, for example, first generation, second generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, or sixth generation aircraft. They're not the seventh generation, or they're not a generation unmanned fighter jets. They're a different species. These are robots. Like some countries are talking about, like US is talking about sixth generation fighter jet. That's a manned platform. This is an unmanned platform. It doesn't have a generation. It's a robot, it's a monster, it's very dangerous. It's cheap. You can train it. You don't, like 90% of the flights, all flights, jet fighter flights are what? Training flights. So imagine you have 10 aircraft. Over the life cycle, 9 of them are being used for training. So you only have 1 aircraft left to fight. Whereas here, you don't need to train because computer doesn't need it. It's just software. Once it's optimized, and it's continuously being optimized, that's it. You can copy the capability right away. It's microseconds to copy the capability, software update. So when it's going to come? That's a good question. It's going to take a long time. But it will come once the capacity is demonstrated in a war. And it will be. So we are the frontier. Probably we're going to demonstrate it to the world.
Where do you see your competences in intercepting, and how do you see the market developing, intercepting drones that are attacking your country?
That's a very important question. Intercepting is much harder, very hard. Especially, inexpensive, kamikaze drones, and the economy in terms of intercepting side is very disadvantageous. It's always going to be much more expensive to intercept. Like imagine there is look at the recent attacks, like Russia-Ukraine war. Sometimes they send 1,000 units. So to intercept that is much more expensive, most of the time. You can't intercept all of them. There is always a saturation limit. And so where do we come here? Either total destruction for both sides, or we stop fighting. And I think what we should understand, there is no end to destruction. You know, if we're going to destroy ourselves, we have a lot of weapons. The world has a lot of weapons. So we should understand that, I think. And it doesn't make sense to build so much weapons. We need to, it's much cheaper to be wise and, you know, to try to build a peaceful world. I'm a roboticist and a UAV manufacturer myself. Why would I say something like this? You could say. But the problem is the imbalance in the world. You know, some countries spend more than the whole, you know, globe on building weapons of destruction. When it comes to defending yourself, it's extremely hard. You almost have no option. So there is constant imbalance. So intercepting is extremely hard, unfortunately. In this day and age, technology, you cannot stop it from spreading, and it's all online. And to counter it, you need to live in, you know, fences and cages almost. So that's not very smart. It's always much smarter to stop the wars. But the world, if you look at the world now, I mean, right, you know, almost several hundred kilometers away, there's a genocide happening, and there's no institution in the world to stop that. The institutions are over, basically. The rules are over. So if it goes on like this, humanity, just like Second World War, is going to destroy itself because it has the means.
How do you imagine this technology in 10, 20 years? Because maybe we are just starting, and I think warfare is completely related to this new technology in the future. So maybe you are the one for helping us imagine how this technology will be in 10, 20 years.
Yes, that's a very important question. First of all, it's very hard to imagine because we are living in exponential times. Everything is changing. At 30 years, that's hard to imagine. 5 years, yes. 10 years, I think we can do. 30, I think is very hard. And I hope, you know, we, for example, Baykar, we always pursued as a technology company, how can we be more in the civilian side, you know, predominantly in the civilian side. Because it's always much better to build technology, you know, not for weapons, but for, imagine, to cure the human sicknesses or human needs. But unfortunately, the world we live in, for example, pushes us to the defense side even more. Now defense industry is booming. You know, Baykar's revenues are much higher. It's probably gonna be like that. It's hard to imagine what's gonna happen in 30 years. Because it's extremely hard to, as I said, to stop the proliferation as well. In terms of terror, it's very dangerous, I think. As a researcher, 20 years back, we knew this. You know, UAVs are extremely, you know, dangerous in terms of, for example, terror, and also in terms of they're very lethal or very capable in terms of defense. But right now, I think we are at a different level. Like the capability of AI, in a sense, everything is called AI now. It's not AI, it's advanced algorithms. We had these algorithms, now they are miniaturized actually. Just because the computer speaks doesn't mean it's, you know, it understands anything. It doesn't understand anything. So now everything is miniaturized and it's everywhere. It's online. So it's hard to imagine where it's going to go for 30 years. But 10 years, I can say drones, UAVs, they're going to grow. You will have all the sizes. Kızılelma, for example, there is like 15,000 fighters in the world, fighter jets. Unmanned fighters are going to replace all of them over time, in 30 years probably. And that's going to be big as well. It's a big revolution as well in combat aviation. And I hope, one day we basically bring back the world order together and say, look, weapons are not good. I hope we do that one day. But now is not the time, unfortunately. All the institutions, all the rules are being broken. All of them, every single one of them.